Hi there. Thanks for making Prayerful Pause part of your day today. Time to be anchored in something greater than ourselves. This is Monday, April 6th, 2020, the day after Easter. It is the beginning of Holy Week in the Christian tradition. For those of you who might not be Christian or haven't been practicing it for a long time, it is the week leading up to Good Friday and Resurrection Sunday, also known as Easter. And usually we tend to go in our celebrations from high point to high point. We're not good with the low mucky stuff. And much of Holy Week is low mucky stuff, especially when you get into Thursday and then Good Friday. But we don't know a lot, most of us, about what happened early in the week. And so this week I had planned on really looking each day at what was happening in Jesus' life on that particular day of that last week of his earthly life. And then lo and behold, our government comes out and is telling us from many sources that this week promises to be the worst week, perhaps in our nation's history, in terms of deaths due to the COVID-19 outbreak and pandemic. So I'm going to truncate a lot of what I was going to say each day. I call to your attention a book called The Last Week by Marcus Borg, B-O-R-G, and John Dominic Crossan, C-R-O-S-S-A-N. If you're interested in this stuff, it is a fascinating read. And we're still going to focus on Mark's gospel account of the last week. And I'm going to begin reading here from Mark chapter 11. Those of you who want to follow along, it'll be verses 12 to 19. But then I'm going to leave enough time. I'll keep checking the clock. I want to leave just a few minutes to talk about how what we're reading applies to where we are this week, okay? So here's the reading from Mark's gospel. On the following day, when they came from Bethany, he was hungry. So Jesus and his disciples were staying in Bethany with Mary and Martha and Lazarus, the man he had raised from the dead, and Mary and Martha, Lazarus's sisters. And they were staying in Bethany and walking into Jerusalem every day. Seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to see whether perhaps he would find anything on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. He said to it, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." And the disciples heard it. Then he came to Jerusalem, and he entered the temple and began to drive out those who were selling and those who were buying in the temple. And he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold doves. And he would not allow anyone to carry anything through the temple. He was teaching and saying, "Is it not written, 'My house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations'? But you have made it a den of robbers." And when the chief priests and the scribes heard it, they kept looking for a way to kill him, for they were afraid of him, because the whole crowd was spellbound by his teaching. And when evening came, Jesus and his disciples went out of the city. And here ends the reading. One thing I want to make sure that you know about the Gospel of Mark in particular is that he often nests stories inside each other. He will start one story, and then he'll come up with another story, and then he'll end the first story. So it's like A1, all of B, and then A2. And what is interesting about this literary format is that the two stories complement each other. They inform each other. So this is really not so much about a fig tree as it is setting up what's going to happen in the temple. And the temple is not so much just Jesus having an explosion around anger that people are desecrating the temple. They really weren't, for all intents and purposes. I mean, the temple culture was set up so that people would go in there to buy the animals for the ritual sacrifice, because they could be guaranteed that those animals would be acceptable to the priests and the rabbis. They had been specially raised, and so that's where the money changing was taking place. But Jesus was very upset about the corruption in the leadership, not only of the government, but of the temple. We talked about this yesterday in Palm Sunday in the sermon. he was very upset about that. And so what he was saying about the fig tree, for instance, and cursing the fig tree, which happens a little later, is that the temple is not bearing fruit as it is supposed to. The temple leadership is not bearing fruit because they're getting caught up in ways to keep themselves solvent, ways to skim money off the top. So it's not a statement about Jewish people. Jesus was Jewish. He wasn't looking to start any new religion. He was just trying to be a good practicing Jew, right? And he was upset both with the government and with the temple leadership. And so that's what he was addressing here. And as I say, you can go on and read on in Mark about the rest of Monday and what happens there. I'm already over my 5-minute limit for you. But I want to talk just briefly about what does this mean for us today as United States citizens as we begin this week and we look around. It's time for us, really, I think, to take stock of what bears fruit for us individually, collectively in our communities, and as a nation, what bears fruit and what doesn't. And any time that someone is going to put economic well-being over human well-being, I think is an abomination, and it does not hold with our country's long-standing devotion to humanity. I throw that out there. You may disagree with me, but we need to be focused on what's best for the people, and we need our government to do that too. Trying not to get too political here. You can read into it whatever you wish. However, as I read Scripture, that's the message from Jesus for us as we begin this week. Okay, see you later. Come back tomorrow. We'll continue with what happened on Tuesday. I'm Pastor Deb Swift of South Presbyterian Church in Rochester, New York. If you'd like to learn more about us, go to www.southpc.org, south like the direction, PC for Presbyterian Church.org. That's it for now. Have a good day. See you next time. Bye.